1. Whispers of the Lost Children. Once, on the outskirts of town, there was an abandoned orphanage that had fallen into disrepair over the years. However, every Halloween night, ghostly whispers echoed from within. 3 friends, daring and curious, decided to explore the orphanage on Halloween night. As they stepped inside, an unsettling silence filled the air. Dusty, broken toes lay scattered along the hallways, and faint childlike drawings covered the walls. In one of the cold rooms, they found an old notebook. Each page had the name of a child with an empty line at the very end, as if it was waiting for a new name. One of the friends felt her hand begin to move on its own, writing her name onto that empty line. Suddenly, a soft child's voice whispered, "Join us." Frightened, the friends tried to escape, but the doors had slammed shut. Shadows of children crept around them in the darkened halls, trapping them in a chilling circle. Their whispers grew louder, weaving into a haunting symphony. When they finally escaped and returned home, they realized that the notebook had somehow come with them, their names now forever inscribed. The lost souls of the orphanage would never let them go. 2. The Mirror Maze. On the edge of town was an old mirror maze, said to be cursed. This Halloween night, 2 siblings ventured inside, eager to prove their bravery. But soon their reflections began to change. At first, it seemed like an illusion, but quickly the distorted faces in the mirrors twisted into monstrous versions of themselves, faces melting, eyes hollow, expressions sinister. One sibling saw himself in a terrifying form, eyes empty, face shredded, hands bloodied. They tried to escape, but the mirrors trapped them, each reflection staring back with dark, sinister intent. Soon they could no longer tell what was real and what was their imagination. When they finally reached the exit, one sibling noticed that his own reflection didn't show his face, but rather his brother's. Only one made it out, and his reflection was forever bound within the mirrors. From that day on, when he looked into any mirror, he saw only his brother's ghostly face staring back. 3. The Haunted Orchard. There was an orchard on the outskirts of town where strange occurrences happened every Halloween night. A young couple decided to explore this spooky place. As they wandered deeper into the orchard, the trees' twisted branches seemed to reach out, observing their every move. Suddenly, a shadowy figure appeared among the trees, holding a blood-red apple. The figure offered the apple, saying in a raspy voice, "Take a bite, and I'll keep your secrets." Despite their fear, the couple couldn't resist. As they took a bite, they felt a cold shiver run through their bodies. The figure vanished, but shadowy faces appeared among the trees, silently watching them. Once they escaped the orchard and returned home, they discovered the same apple in their bag untouched. Every night afterward, the house filled with the smell of apples, and the shadowy figure's smile could be seen outside their window, watching them through the dark. 4. The Night with the Cursed Dagger. One Halloween night, a group of friends decided to visit an abandoned castle rumored to be haunted by a cursed knight. Long ago, a knight had been cursed with a dagger that brought death to whoever he pointed it at. As the friends stepped into the castle, a cold wind swept through, and shadows flickered along the stone walls. As they explored the rooms, the ghostly image of the knight appeared behind them. They could hear his heavy footsteps echoing, and bloodstains seemed to appear on the walls around them. Panicking, they tried to flee, but every door they reached was locked, every path blocked. In the end, the knight raised his dagger, casting their shadows against the walls in the eerie silence. As they turned, they saw their own shadows permanently etched into the castle stone, forever trapped with the cursed night. 5. The Silent Stalker. A man loved to take long walks every Halloween night, venturing deep into the woods. This year, however, he felt a strange presence following him. As he walked further, he could hear footsteps behind him, but whenever he turned around, no one was there. His shadow seemed to move on its own, lurking just a step behind. Eventually, he came across a mysterious graveyard hidden deep within the forest. One grave in particular seemed to draw him closer, its surface empty and cold. As he reached out, a hand shot out from the ground, grabbing his ankle with an icy grip. The man broke free, fleeing from the graveyard. But as he emerged from the woods, he realized his shadow had stayed behind, its form now bound to the mysterious grave that had called out to him. 6. The Masked Balloon Man. Every Halloween night, a masked man appeared in the town square, handing out colorful balloons to children. No one knew who he was, as no one had ever seen him without his mask. There was a rumor, though, that anyone who tried to see his true face would be cursed. One year, a curious child decided to sneak up and pull off his mask. As he lifted the mask, he saw his own face staring back at him from the man's shadow. Horrified, he tried to put the mask back, but it was too late. The masked man disappeared, and the child was left holding the mask. The next year, the child was never seen again, but a new masked balloon man stood in the square, silent, handing out balloons with a strange, haunting smile. The child had become the town's new mysterious figure, his true face forever hidden. 7. The Endless Tower. On Halloween night, a group of friends decided to explore an abandoned tower on the edge of town. As they climbed each floor, they noticed strange items left behind from different time periods, faded clothes, old weapons, and ancient letters. Each room felt like it was frozen in a different era, and yet something seemed to be calling them higher and higher. The higher they climbed, the more each friend felt like they were slipping out of time itself. When they finally reached the top floor, the walls were covered in portraits of themselves, each face frozen in horror. They realized that they, too, had become trapped, bound to the tower as time's prisoners. 8. The Shadow Scouts. In the woods near town, there were rumors of ghostly scout troops that would appear on Halloween night. Determined to find the truth, a group of young friends ventured into the woods. Soon enough, shadowy figures began appearing around them. Each shadow seemed to belong to someone, yet none had distinct faces. One friend realized that one of the shadows didn't resemble his own, but someone else entirely. As they fled back to town, they discovered they had lost their shadows along the way. From that night on, none of them cast shadows again, as if the ghostly scouts had stolen a piece of them forever. 9. The Silent Manor. An old manor house was said to awaken each Halloween night, haunted by spirits who made no sound. A group of friends decided to explore it, laughing off the stories. But as they ventured inside, they found themselves unable to speak. Their voices seemed to have been stolen by the house itself. One friend tried to scream, but the silence was absolute, his voice trapped within the walls. As they looked around, they realized they could hear the distant whispers of past visitors, who had also lost their voices to the manor's spell. They returned to town in silence, cursed to live without speech, forever bearing the quiet mark of the haunted house. 10. The Death's Cloak. Each Halloween night, a mysterious witch would appear in town, wearing a cloak said to carry death's shadow. The legend said that anyone who wore the cloak would be bound to death's presence forever. A young man, intrigued by the stories, sought out the witch and asked to see the cloak. When she finally offered it to him, he hesitated but touched it anyway. Instantly, he found himself in another world, one filled with shadows and darkness. From that night on, he could no longer live as he had, for he carried death's cloak with him wherever he went. Everywhere he walked, flowers wilted and shadows gathered. He had become the new harbinger of Halloween's curse, the cloak binding him to a world where fear followed his every step.